How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, just was rushing around a little bit to eat and get everything prepped. So yeah, I was rushing around a little bit, but I think we're all set up. We're live in the group. And
Okay.
yeah, like I said, there's one person watching live now, but there's 30 men in this group, all Asian, and we've been having some conversations about dating. I talk about dating sometimes, sexuality. I've also worked with the dating coach, which I've told you. So I just think it'll be an interesting conversation to have our like minds and energies come together and see what type of value we can give to Asian men. And I'm not a dating coach. Um, I was dabbling and maybe working in that space, but it's very different. Dating coaching is like, even though I work with men around like authenticity, maybe emotional healing, being themselves, being comfortable. um, Dating coaching is kind of similar, but I think there's an overlap, but they're also kind of separate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, we'll see where the conversation goes, but yeah, happy to have you on and see where we go. So why don't you do a quick introduction and let the men know who you are, what you do, and we can start from there.
Sure. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Samuel. My name is Aisen Lee, and I live in Austin, Texas. And what I do is I help men with dating and confidence. So pretty much dating coach for men, Asian men particularly, and because I identify as an Asian person, obviously, and I feel like people can learn from me. And I've been through a lot of the struggles that we all feel as Asian men in the Western world. So, and I want to, uplift men and empower guys like us to live our best lives. And yeah, that's what I do. Do you guys have any questions? Feel free to ask me, on this chat or, whether it be like a DM as well. I'm always here to
Totally.
help.
Totally. Yeah, we'll definitely I'll definitely plug you at the end just with your contact info and all that. So but did you just why don't you say a little bit more about the struggles that you kind of faced with dating? And you said being an Asian man, you went through similar struggles, and obviously you've kind of worked your way out of them.
Mhm.
So why don't you share a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, for sure. It's a great question. So growing up, I was moved here from China when I was 9 with my family, and growing up, I didn't speak English when I came here, so that was a struggle. But so it made me really shy and really reserved to begin with because I grew up in the suburbs of Houston in Katy, and the majority of the population were white, and typical high school, there's football on Friday nights, all of that, fishing and stuff like that in the suburbs. So I didn't
Okay.
feel like I fit in really well.
Huh.
So, I would try to be cool and play sports, learn English, obviously, and had a small group of friends. Even the Asian guys, the Asian people out of my school weren't very friendly towards me because
Huh.
obviously I didn't speak English and they felt like I was like the fob. I was like, hey, they didn't want to
Oh
associate themselves
wow.
with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mainly had a lot of friends that were Mexican or like from other countries like Sudan, Russia,
Hmm.
places like that. So because I was
Whoa.
also a foreigner. But yeah, like in
Oh
high
wow.
school, I learned English, obviously. And then so I started to wanted to, talk to people, talk to girls. And it wasn't easy because dating wasn't encouraged in my household because I
Hmm.
thought, just get good grades, go to good school, get a good job, and then the girls would come, right? Similar to what people tell us.
Get married, right? Get married.
Right, get
Yeah.
married eventually, right after
Yeah.
college. Um, and then it really wasn't until college where I started learning about this subject on my own, watching YouTube videos, even had myself a coach in College Station, A&M, was where I went to school at.
Mm.
And then after a few years of trial and error, I had like a little bit of courage. I had balls to approach people, even though I didn't really
Yeah.
know how to do it. I would fail, but I would get better, and my confidence would go up because I would see myself improving and such. So I helped guys that were similar didn't really know or were shy like me,
Hmm.
to help them with communication and like understanding like how to do things a certain way, not to be creepy or things like that.
Right.
So that was,
Interesting.
kind of my journey. And eventually I understood more about how to communicate better and understanding, what the women want, right, in a guy.
Okay.
So started
Okay.
helping other guys outside of that as well.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
So what stands out to me at first, like just hearing your story, is that you probably weren't traditional as far as, even though your parents might have been, and they're telling you, school and, don't date, and, but because a lot of Asian men, they kind of abide by that a little bit, they like, it becomes internalized. And then they follow their parents' instructions and guidance. But it sounds like you kind of like were really set on this dating thing. You were really set on like, I also know you did some modeling and, you worked in like finance and sales and marketing, which might be more traditionally Asian kind of
Mhm. Yeah.
job. But it also sounds like your mindset was a little bit different from,
Yeah, I would say
yeah,
so. Mhm. You're
yeah.
right.
Interesting. Okay. So you really like wanted to figure out dating, you really wanted to date, and you
Mhm.
started to find success. And then you started to kind of guide other people around it, maybe just friends and stuff like that at
Yeah, for sure.
first.
In the beginning.
Okay. Um, so where would you say that things kind of shifted for you? So like, yeah, you're learning techniques, but like I'm curious about, was there like a turning point for you? Like maybe the turning point was like, oh, I can actually teach this. But
Mhm.
but I'm just curious about that time period of like failing and succeeding, and like what your mindset was like, what started to really work for you, and when did you realize, oh shit, like this is working and I've got some game, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like maybe there
Yeah.
wasn't that moment, but I imagine there was.
Yes, definitely. There's actually two turning points. So the
Okay.
turning point was in college, the last year of college, where I guess my last semester of college. That's where that's when I felt very confident because I understood like college, the system, going to class, etc. And I had my routine of going to class, hanging out with friends, and going out, things like that. Um, I guess I was the most confident. That was the most confident period of my college career,
Okay.
where I just felt like there's more to life than just going to school and going to work. And that's why I didn't want to go pursue a 9 to 5 right after school. I
Huh.
decided to go model in LA. But my most unconfident part of
Yeah.
my life would be when I was modeling, which is ironic because at that time, if you were to look at me from the outside perspective, I had everything going for me, right? Looked like I did. Had an education, had a pretty decent car, great body, right?
Mm,
Skating in
mm,
front of like
mm,
these famous photographers, things like that.
mm-hmm.
But on the inside, I was the least confident ever because I was often compared to, someone else that looked like me but got the job or a little bit better than me. So I
Mm,
was always insecure about the things that I lacked. I didn't embrace the things that I had.
mm,
So
mm,
that at that time, my dating life was shitty. It was terrible.
mm.
Going on like maybe like 1 or 2 dates every month. Um, it's pretty bad because I didn't believe myself and I didn't want to showcase myself to the world because I wasn't comfortable in who I was.
Got it.
But the second turning point was in 2019 when I moved to Austin. And I just felt like a mindset shift. I felt like I knew what to do and I was confident in my abilities because I understood the struggles I faced growing up in college, after college, modeling. And
Mm,
I was able to overcome that because my I can't let other people's validations dictate my actions. And when I
mm.
broke out of that, I was free and I was able to be the best that I can be, or at least
Nice.
happy.
Yeah. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 28.
Okay. That's cool, man. So yeah, again, something about your mindset seems very different than a lot of Asian men, or just maybe I would honestly say Asian men, but I think it's cool because you also experience the insecurities, I guess it's racism, right? Just feeling like you're lesser than because you're, Asian in the dating market, and also it sounds like at school and stuff.
Yeah.
But then you were able to overcome it. And so it sounds like now your focus for Asian men is really coming from this. I think it's probably a lot of your mind, like you probably do a lot of mindset work.
Yes,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because your thing seems to be really mindset driven. What okay, so what do you think is different? It could be mindset, but it could be something else. What do you think is different in your coaching of Asian men than, for other men who are non-Asian? Do you have you coached non-Asian men?
Yes. I have some like white guys, some guys from like I guess they're still Asian, like South Asian, like the Indian region, Pakistan.
Sure.
But they're not East Asian, right?
Right.
So the difference is that you have to help them embrace their own skin, like skin tones, right? Skin colors and their backgrounds. Because a lot of times we as Asian guys, I talk to a lot of men before I coach them. I always, have a phone call with them, and majority of them would say that they would rather be white than Asian,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And for me, I find it conflicting because like if I woke up tomorrow as a white guy, I'll just be like an average white guy. Like they took away my edge, right? I would need that. I need that edge. I need the edge to be Asian, right? So I embrace it so much that
Mm.
if I was born if I was to become a different race, I would be confused and I would be lost again. I'd have to find my identity again. And that's what I really teach is that being happy with who you are because you are unique, you are one on one. And, being Asian in America or Canada or somewhere in Europe, it's rare. We are limited and we are like diamonds, right? We're rare. So like limited editions, right?
Yeah.
So we should embrace that part and
Nice.
make it our power.
Power. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So again, it's almost a reframing of it, right? I just think that's really good, because instead of seeing, because it's internalized racism, right? So thinking that it's better to be white or that it's not as good to be Asian is this message that we're given in society. It's what we grow up with in the States, right? It's sort of, even if you're in Asia, like that's sort of in the environment because of Hollywood and stuff like that. But if you grow up in another country, it's not going to be as strong, I think, And I heard even Asian men who, this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but Asian men, when they go to certain countries, other countries, like in Europe or something, it's not the same as in the States. Like I heard it's pretty, America is really like this, there's a huge, like, inferiority thing, like, and Asians are seen as really not attractive, whereas in other countries. So but anyways, I like what you're saying, because I feel the same way. I found a way to feel empowered as an Asian man in my identity, my roots. And I don't know if I used to idealize white women, but I remember I've dated a lot of white women, and I remember I did Lyft for a little while when I was living in San Francisco, and I was taking this guy to an interview at Google, and he's like this, Asian tech guy, and we're talking about dating, and I just came up that I was like dating this Italian woman, and he was like, "Oh my God!" It was just like this weird moment of like, how, like, teach me, and I remember feeling, I actually do remember feeling a little bit elevated, but I also remember like, oh gosh, like that type of mindset is it's like, I don't even know what to do with that, like, because personally, like, I can't tell this man like that all the stuff that I told you about the internalized racism or feeling, like those are just messages that he's not able to get himself out of, and he believes and identifies with so much. And from my perspective, it's like, I just don't see it that way. I was just connecting with women that I felt more of a connection with, like intellectually or spiritually or emotionally or even sexually. But for him, it was like white women are like this trophy and this ideal. And I'm like, you probably get that a lot. And I'm curious, is there a question there? I think I'm just sharing that experience because, I've kind of gone back and forth with like dating white women or not. Like it's just like, or Asian women or not, like it's been an interesting process, and one that I've had to kind of learn on my own without trying to take messages from the external world. So I don't know, I guess I'm just inviting other men to feel that way too. I don't think I have a lot of men who are like maybe like that in this group per se, but yeah, any thoughts that come up for you around that?
Yeah, totally. I can definitely relate to it, man. Like, because growing up in Texas, white are the majority here. And so I've dated a lot
I
of
grew up
white.
in Texas too, by the way. I grew up
Oh,
in
really? Which
Dallas.
part of Texas? Dallas? Nice, nice, nice.
Dallas, yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. So a lot of white people here. So
Yeah.
and definitely, yeah, like I hate it. Like I hate the fact that other guys put them on a pedestal, It's just like it cringes me out because guys would like, give me a thumbs up, like, oh, like they're seeing me like a white girl, like, oh, good job, man. I'm just like, bro, like we're all people. Are you gonna do that to me if I'm with a black girl? Like, I don't know, right?
Right.
Are you gonna give me like mean looks if I'm with someone that's you don't think is I should date?
Yeah.
So I just don't like that idea. But you know, it is I don't really know how to like communicate that to them unless I talk to them more on a personal level. But
Right.
if I just walk around like in a bar with my date and she happens to be white, and then if another Asian guy would like raise their glass to me or something, then I just wouldn't know. Like I obviously I'll be friendly, but I just
Yeah.
know like their intentions behind it. It's like, oh, good job, dude. Like you're elevating the race, elevating our race or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can go down this topic a lot more because, there's the thing of whole like K-pop, which is like, it's sort of good for, I think, representation, also, making Asian men in the consciousness of other people now. But I also think I don't know, it's not super helpful in some ways too, right? It's like
A little toxic.
I think it's a little toxic, yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it makes Asian men more fetishized in some weird way, and I don't think that's necessarily a positive thing. But I understand if you haven't had a lot of sex, or if you really want to have sex with like non-Asian people, then that can excite you. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about tiger moms. Is that a topic
sure.
that because you told me a little bit about how you work with men, Asian men specifically, and there was something you mentioned about tiger moms, which I thought was interesting. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel like obviously our decisions and who we are right now as people are dictated by our past choices and our upbringings. So if you have a mother like that, then chances are there's things that you do, they're going to be affected by the way she, raised you or programmed you to be.
Totally.
A lot of times, if it's an extreme case, like the client would resent women that look like or reminded him of his mother. So and it's not good.
Very
but
simple. Yeah, makes a
yeah,
lot of sense.
like,
Yeah.
oh man, you damn it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I totally agree, and that's an interesting thing because I do think tiger moms are a real thing. Like
Yes.
I've thought about this a lot because my mom was definitely like that. Very emotionally, she was actually emotionally abusive to my dad, and just very anxious, upset person. And she's also caring and loving, but it did create some weird kind of patterns in me, relational patterns, and even around masculinity and like what types of women I'm attracted to, and yeah. And I wouldn't, it probably when I see a lot of Asian men who are stuck in a mindset of like victimhood or, blaming society, or, there's a lot of, in the Asian community, uh, like Asian men who sort of hate on Asian women, because they're dating white men. And it's just like, there's some weird thing going on in the psyche of Asian men. And I often have thought about like the mother wound, is what I would call it from psychology. And so, yeah, I think that's a really good point. So healing that, I think, is a big thing for a lot of men, a lot of men in general, but I think Asian men, because a lot of Asian moms aren't just, they're pretty like hard-headed, they're kind of like strong women, I've noticed.
Yeah.
The Asian fathers can be too, but there's a lot of more sensitive dads, I think, than there are, I don't know. But yeah, anything you want to say on that? Just because I agree with what you're saying is what I'm thinking. How do you work with men around this then?
First, you have to understand why, the resentment, where it comes from, right? And accepting it and changing your mindset actually around why you feel this way about, your mother or someone, by thinking about it from her perspective. Like, why do you think she did the things that she did to mold you into the person that you are, right? Obviously, she had good intentions. And if you see it from that point of view, then you're going to be able to like forgive and like, because resentment is not a good thing to have. And it really stunts the growth of both people, and majority more so yourself than your mother, because obviously then she's already grown and set in her ways, but you don't want to like let that limit who you can become.
Right.
And coming from a place of abundance and a scarcity mindset, where you said a lot of guys, Asian guys, we get angry whenever we see pretty Asian girl date white guy, right? Because we feel like, oh man, this white guy is stealing one of our girls right now. We don't have anyone else to date, right? Whereas like, now there's one more white girl for us to date, right? You see it like that.
Okay.
Yeah, just like I try to like be as positive as I can and instill that into the people that I coach as well.
Okay, so probably acknowledging and accepting the ways that you may have been hurt or damaged, or accepting that the resentment is there, but then also learning to get over it or forgive and move on, especially because you're saying this is holding you back, holding the client or the individual back. It's themselves. It's not the mom anymore, right? It's in their own resentment, the feelings that they're holding on to. So the quicker they can learn to forgive, it's going to help improve their life and and express themselves. Cool, man. So I've done some dating coaching as well, or I've worked with a dating coach. And so I don't know if you guys are all kind of doing the same. It does seem like there's a lot of overlap, like there's a lot of correlation between different coaches. But one of the things that I really thought was interesting, because to be honest, there's so much to it, learning the art of attraction, dating, going on dates, like texting now, like what to do on first dates, like what to do in the bedroom. It just is like a really, huge topic. It's like chapters in a book, so we're not going to be able to get into all of it. But one of the things that I wanted to run by you, which I was a big shift for me, was, masculine and feminine dynamics. So basically, how do you create attraction, I guess, but making a woman feel like a woman in the interaction, right? So you're the man, and how do you act like the man in the situation, and also how do you make her feel like a woman? Because women want to feel like women, they want to feel like attractive, or like they're attracted to you desire them. But there's also obviously a line, right? You can't do that too much. So yeah, how do you I guess my question is that something that you resonate with? Is that something that you teach? I imagine that's a big part of what dating coaching involves, right?
Mhm.
Any thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
it's a tough question, man. I wish I could answer in one sentence
Sure.
eloquently, but there isn't really, a good response, I guess, right now for me to think about.
Okay.
But one thing I do want to share with you is for men to be masculine, you don't have to be forceful. You don't have to,
Sure.
rule with an iron fist, things like
Okay.
that. It's about letting your intentions known to the woman.
Right.
That's the first part. Just like a lot of times when guys get in the friend zone, even though they're attracted to the girl, they didn't let their intentions known. Like they didn't say, "Hey, I think you're attractive. I want to take you on a date." Instead, they might have, you know, just appeared friendly and never took a risk and really had a platonic relationship or a conversation with the girl.
Hmm.
And she doesn't feel like a woman if you're talking to her like you would talk to your grandma or mother, right?
Right.
So, and also flirting and teasing um, is important as well
Yeah,
when it
totally.
comes to that dynamic. So, and
I
also,
think that's what I meant. Yeah, like there's different things, like when you're flirting and you're teasing, it's kind of making her feel like a woman a bit, right?
yeah,
Like it puts her a little bit more in a, and I'm not trying to say like this has to be everybody, but like it puts her a little more in like a submissive kind of state, which, I think triggers attraction. It
mhm.
triggers there's something like in her brain and her body. But anyways, yeah, flirting and teasing I think is huge. So just say more about that.
Yeah, like I can't really think of any good examples, but I was thinking about this. Something that happened a few days ago. I was with this girl, and then she was just chilling with me, and then I said, "Hey, I have a little challenge for you. So I barely have anything in my fridge. My challenge is if you can make something out of whatever I have in the fridge, then you win, right?"
Uh-huh.
That little challenge, maybe made her feel like, okay, I want to take this challenge on. I'm a strong woman. I'm independent, right? I want to see what I can do. And she made me some pasta with some bacon. It was great.
Nice.
And that made me feel good. It made her feel good. And later on, she said, "You know what? You kind of manipulated me there with your words,
To
right?"
make
But
you
then like she
food.
liked
Yeah.
it. So I was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
something. It's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, and it was playful, right?
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
creative. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Learning how to flirt and tease. Do you teach that? Is that something that you
I do, yeah.
Okay, so
Let me
how do
see
you
if I can
teach that?
pull up some examples here.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Because I've learned things. I mean, I'll say things that I've learned, like
Mhm.
there's the push pull,
Right.
or like flirting in the negative, I think is one way. I guess it's not negging, but it was like, it's like saying, um, oh, I don't know about you, or like you seem like this kind of
Mhm.
person. I'm not really into that, but
Right.
like doing it in a way that is like kind of playful, and like poking
Right.
fun. But anyways, yeah, what do you have?
So my approach is always framing yourself as a prize. So if you feel that way, then it's way easier for you to talk to her and flirt with her because if you feel like she's above you, then you're always trying to validate yourself or
Right.
have her validate you. Whereas like if you're the prize, you're like, oh, okay, so like let's see, you can say certain things um that if you think that if you frame yourself so that she likes you, then it's going to be way easier for you to communicate with her and certain things
Mm,
that you could say. Let's see.
nice.
um
Yeah, no, that's good though, because for you, I'm totally a big mindset guy too. So it's because when you have that mindset and you believe it, you walk into a situation, the confidence almost naturally is there, and the flirting and all that kind of naturally comes out too. I think, I mean, it's not like maybe instant, but there's something natural about being a man and the masculinity that, you know these types of things they're pretty natural to just attraction. They're not just like some weird techniques all the time. Like, men who are considered naturals, who date a lot and get a lot of women or whatever, like they're using these too, but they're not thinking about like, I'm going to
right.
try this technique. It just naturally comes out of feeling
Hmm.
like they are the prize, feeling like, they're the man, they're confident, they're in this this person, this girl, woman is like, in some ways, I don't want to say lower in like one is better than the other or they're not equal, but it's like, you're in a kind of dominant role a little bit. You're in the role of the masculine, you're the leader, like, and they're following. And I think just naturally through like believing these types of things, it will create the attraction. But yeah, why don't you share some examples?
Yeah. So let's say that if a girl compliments you, right? And then you could say, thank you, right? Give her a compliment back. That's pretty standard. But if you go ahead and say something like, if she says, oh, wow, like you look really handsome. And then you could say, oh yeah, like I also like, a woman with good taste and style, right? Things like that. So
Nice.
by you saying her, like telling her that she has good taste in style, or style or good taste in men, then that's kind of assuming that she likes you, which is what
Yeah.
you should do if you're a confident person that frames
Right.
themselves as a prize.
Mm.
Because if not, then like the conversation isn't going to go that far. And if you're not comfortable, like I was thinking about this the other day because I was at the bar with my friend and, I was getting a drink for him. And then this girl smiled at me. And then obviously, I smiled back and then I held eye contact. And, I, waved my hand over to, for her to come over here so I can talk to her. And then I was thinking like before, like when I was younger, I wouldn't have done that because I would have been so shy that if I looked at her, I would have looked away and kept on ordering my drink. So that's another mindset shift. Now I'm like, okay, you know what? I feel great. And if I'm going to shoot my shot, if it doesn't work, then so be it, right? Doesn't affect my day. I'm still going to get my drink, hang out with my friend.
Okay. So it was not being so anxious, needy, like you saw yourself in that situation as you're good, right? Like this isn't a big deal. Like you're just, and yeah, I mean, I think that must come from experience. The only way that can probably come is like approaching, talking to more girls, getting success. I mean, there is a mindset thing, but I also think there's probably just like over time you develop, like, like you said, you couldn't do this, years ago. But over time, it's just that abundance mindset was there, right? Or is there now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just thought that, before I would have felt either inadequate or like she wasn't even looking at me. She probably looking at someone behind me, right? But now I just feel differently about it because of the mindset shit. Right.
So you're just owning it now, right?
Right, exactly.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. Let me check the chats really quick. Yeah. There's one. Did you want to say something else?
Yeah, because I always, try to see things from 3 different perspectives. I guess like women, whenever you first meet them, there's going to be 3 different responses. One of them is going to be unresponsive, meaning that they're not going to be interested in you.
Like
the other one is neutral, right? And the next one is responsive, meaning that if you smile at her, she's going to be, oh yeah, please talk to me, right?
Right.
So a lot of them are going to be in between neutral and responsive. So even if they're neutral, you just talk to her. And if you share that you're attracted to her, then she's going to be attracted back to you. Just like a lot of times, if you get a match or if you get a like on our online profiles, we're like, you know what? She's kind of cool. Might as well talk to her, give her a shot, right? Give her a chance. But like if you were to see her just on your Tinder or whatever, you might have just swiped left on her.
Right.
So it's that mindset of like, if you tell them that, you're into them, they think of you as more of a romantic subject now.
Yeah, that's one of the weird things about online dating is that it's like the intent is always there. So like you got to kind of do it differently. Whereas in the real world or like in person, when you show intent, it's much more powerful, right? It's like, okay, so this might be a difficult question, but do you just recommend guys go up to a girl and say, hey, like, I think you're cute, or do you like take the direct approach? I mean, maybe it's
in the
both.
beginning, yes, I would say take the direct approach because it's harder for them to think of something situational. Say, one of my clients actually talked about, he mentioned that this girl had a nice phone case, and that's the reason why he wanted to talk to her. But then at the end, she gave him his number. I mean, she gave him her number, and then he just never got a response from her because
Yeah.
she thought that this guy was only interested in my phone case and not me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the direct approach is it's better to start off as a beginner.
That's
But
good.
yeah, eventually you can also say like, hey, how's your day going? Right? How's it going? Right. Talk about why you guys are there in the first place. Right. Introduce her to your friends, etc. And just talk about her life and see if you guys have a connection.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. Okay. Let me see. I had a question. Well, on that note, actually, let's just say for you, because I don't know if I've said this yet, or we haven't talked about this, but your goal is to help men find a relationship. It's not just to kind of like, hook up or, just to have sex, but it's actually to build, to help men find like a fulfilling relationship, right?
Right. Most
Cool.
definitely. Yeah.
That's would you say that other dating coaches are oriented that way? I don't actually think so.
I think majority of them are more towards like the beginning part, like of dating, like meeting the girl, like taking them out on dates.
Right.
But for me, I feel like that's more superficial. Like eventually, you want to find that person where you can rely on, settle down with, have that emotional connection with. And I think that's the deeper part of it. And yeah, I think it's very pleasing for me, or very satisfying for me to see someone like together with someone that they're interested in and not settling for someone that they think they're okay with.
Okay, so what's your because that's like different than just trying to hook up. It's like
Exactly.
there's probably a lot more mindset stuff, a lot more like learning how to just be yourself, and find like women, girls who are also a good match, right?
Right.
Yeah, how would you say you help men find the right person?
It's about being themselves, like you said,
Sure.
and being vulnerable with themselves.
Oh,
So
nice.
a lot of times a coach can teach a guy how to talk to a girl, how to text a girl, but then that's not really themselves doing it. They're just following like a script or like a template. Whereas like if you get to know the person more and she sees right through that, she's like, oh, like this isn't a guy that approached me at the bar, or this isn't a guy that I matched with online. It's very different, right? Online he's this persona portraying this guy, but in person he's like shy, a little timid, a little geeky, which are traits that people like. Sometimes I can be a little bit geeky at times.
Sure.
And it's kind of a charming thing because like they see me, they're like, oh, like they assume that I'm this way, but they're like, oh wow, you have more stuff that I don't know about.
Right.
So it's about being themselves and being okay with like their strengths and weaknesses. That's the most important part, and not shying away from their setbacks. So that's like the crucial part of difference between dating and like getting into a relationship.
Being yourself to you means accepting your faults, but also your strengths, not maybe just kind of learning how to be comfortable in yourself.
Yes, be comfortable. Yeah.
Be comfortable, because the insecurities are the things that really hurt you when it comes to trying to date, or, obviously feeling confident in these types of things. So, so it's almost like you're trying to get men to just realize that, they're worthy as a person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And from that, a lot will emerge, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's where a lot of our work probably overlaps, because that's definitely the work that I do with men. And through that process, their lives change, their relationships change, they have better boundaries, they feel more comfortable in themselves and confident. So that's cool, man.
Thanks.
Let me see. There's a couple of questions. Fred says that is a huge, I'm not sure what you're talking about here, but he says that is a huge challenge to embrace who we are. Oh, I struggled with that all through childhood. Yeah, man, for sure. It's you and fucking every other
Exactly.
Asian man, you know, like when you're told that you're, you know, you're not doing it right, or there's
Yeah.
no love, affirmation, appreciation, positive reinforcement. It's only like, you know, telling you that you're not doing it right or good enough. Like you're gonna have a lot of really negative feelings about yourself, negative beliefs. He also said, Aisen, when you work with clients, how do you handle when a client has had no good role model for masculinity? What kind of strategies do you recommend for them? Oh, interesting. I probably have some things to say.
Yes,
Anything
that's
about
tough,
that?
man. No good role models. I guess a lot of times for me, my dad is very strict, was very strict growing up. So a lot of times he would put me down and say, "Hey, you know, you suck. You can't do this." And then, you know, he would say, even like more so recently, he's like, "Oh, like you're with this girl, like she's so good for you, right?" Or she's like, "What does she see in you, right? Is she
Hmm.
blind?"
Wow.
So I just felt rebellious, you know, growing up because I thought I was wanting to, you know, prove him wrong. And I tried to, you know, I did. So he wasn't like a positive role model, even though nowadays we have a great relationship, both as business owners and as men.
Mm,
But I would say, like, even though if you don't have anyone that you know as a role model, you can look at, you know, the internet or like someone that you follow or like, you know, someone that's passed as a role model, even though you don't have to be them or be there with them.
mm,
A lot of times we can learn from them, even if they're not present in our realm.
mm. Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it is important to have a role model, who's a man who actually embodies masculinity in a way that you appreciate, that resonates with you, right? Because you may have grown up with a father who didn't match who you are, right? So whether that's like, for me, Tony Robbins was like a huge, even though I never met him in person, it was just like, oh, cool. Here's a guy who's like genuine, heartfelt. He's also very masculine. You know, he's like got this warrior energy, and that really inspired me, because I didn't have a positive father figure either. And so that was kind of like, just that energy kind of was introduced me to sort of my own masculinity. But I also worked with men. I did men's work, or I do men's work, where I was, you know, like I spent time at retreats and like, you know, like 10 days and different things with men in the desert. Like we were wrestling, we were just screaming, like just being men,
Yeah.
also supporting each other around emotions and stuff too. But, you know, that also helped me too. So I think it is important to have relationships with other men who are masculine, but masculine in a way that you kind of, that fits with you, because there's a lot of masculinity out there that's, you know, may not fit with you.
Right.
Yeah. So, did you also, Eisen, were you in the army or military or something?
I
Because
was in the ROTC in college. Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay.
But
So
I
that
actually
was,
did want to go to a military academy at West Point or Annapolis for the Naval
yeah.
Academy.
Okay.
I actually did go to a boot, or not a boot camp, but a summer seminar, like a summer, like a week long,
Mm-hmm.
living in the dorms and like being a kind of a midshipman. Um, yeah, for a week over there, and you know, I thought that was going to be my career path, but you know, eventually I didn't do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but just wanted to add on to, you know, what you're
Sure.
saying, Sam.
Yeah.
Fred, just because like if like you don't see any like role model figures in your life, like that one particular person, you can see like good traits in other people. Like let's say this person has great work ethic, right? You can take that and like model it or like use it as a role model for you,
Mm.
or someone that's very determined, someone that's good at speaking. Maybe that isn't just one person. Maybe there's like several people. You can see good traits in each person, and then
Sure.
like try to learn those traits, or you know, use those as inspirations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll add on to that too, that you know, you work with a man, or do work with a coach, work with a therapist who's a man, you know, work with Eisen, work with me, work with whomever. Having an actual relationship with, if you had no role models, is going to be the biggest thing, because we are relational beings. We learn through modeling and social, you know, socialization. This is what we needed. And if you didn't have that, growing up, then you can still get that at any age, really. But I think it really does have to come from a relationship, an actual relationship, whether it's friendship, like therapy, coaching, whatever. So, or just like a mentor. So that's what I would recommend too, on top of that. And I think it's kind of what you're saying too. Cool. Wow. The time fucking flew. So
That means we're having fun.
yeah. So what about maybe just like one or two other questions, and then we'll finish. But what are your views on toxic masculinity?
I don't like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to, make everyone like happy without being toxic, and like, teach that. I feel like, I'm not trying to categorize or stereotype here, but a lot of Korean men exhibit that, from
I'm
what I've
super
seen.
toxic. No, I'm
From what
kidding.
I've seen, yeah, especially
yeah.
like a lot of my friends who are in the military, like military Korean man, they're like, oh no, you can't be doing that sissy shit around me. I'm just like, hey, I'm just trying to be friendly here. But a lot of times I just want to say that you don't have to be like dominant or exert aggression in order to be masculine, right?
Right.
It's interesting I guess, in the animal kingdom, the most dominant person may not be the most physical empowering person. Like that's the enforcer. The dominant person is more so like the brains behind everything. So I was taught that in college, and I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I don't have to be like the biggest guy in the room. I don't have to be like the most physically empowering, like scaring everyone away. I don't have to like try to prove anything to anyone if I know that I'm worthy. That's what I'm hoping everyone will get to.
Wow, that's powerful. I think that's a really good perspective, because so much of what toxic masculinity is it's men trying to prove themselves, or they feel so insecure that they can't feel any vulnerability, or they can't have intimacy. They don't know how to have real connections or conversation. It's like they're in pain, I think, and what drives a lot of toxic masculinity is I think not feeling enough and feeling insecure, to be honest. So what you're saying is there's something more powerful than just trying to be this, this man, and like trying to go with what we see as masculinity in society. You're actually saying that just feeling good enough, feeling worthy in yourself, like I think I mentioned earlier, just breeds confidence, right? Like you start to feel more confident in who you are. And that's super attractive, like you can be a sensitive guy. And if you're okay with being sensitive, then hey, like that's going to be attractive. Like, you're comfortable in yourself. That's like the trait that is probably the most sought after, but also the most difficult for people to achieve, right? Authenticity, feeling comfortable in yourself, self-esteem, these types of things, self-worth. So I appreciate what you're saying. And I also like that you're, that you have that perspective, because I think that's really helpful for Asian men to know that like they're good enough, they're a man, they're man enough, whatever. Like, they don't have to be something other than who they are to get validation, or to be even successful in dating. Yeah, that's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. I think I just wanted, the last question is, the second to last question is, if you had an audience of 10,000 Asian men in front of you, what would be the one tip that you would give them to improve their dating life, relationships? I mean, I think we've honestly been saying it, but maybe there's something else that comes to you.
One tip. Oh man, that's tough.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I would just say find out what you're good at and really just do that. And through that, you're gonna find power. Because a lot of times, whenever my friends get better jobs, they feel more confident. They feel more worthy, right? They're doing something they're good at. And it's okay to do something that maybe isn't what your parents want you to do or your society wants you to do. As long as you're happy,
Mm,
that's what they want. That's what they want from you. And as long as you can provide value,
mm,
um, that that's all, right? I think that's
mm,
what you need, and that's gonna make you happy as well, like
mm,
fulfillment.
mm. That's an interesting answer. So fulfillment, finding fulfillment is, I think you're saying that because that's really what you're also teaching, right? Like
Yeah,
you're doing this because you want men to find a fulfilling relationship and find happiness, right?
right, exactly. I
Okay,
see so
that's
much potential in people. I'm just like,
yeah.
because I feel like I lived a life that I've always wanted to live, and I want
Mm,
others to, you know, like kind of feel the same way, because my dad always taught me that I had to go to school, had to get a job. I wouldn't be any better than average, right? But I feel like I feel great about the way I live. I get to set my own schedule, get to travel. I'm going to Hawaii with my mom in a few weeks. And it's just beautiful to be able to do certain things with people that I love and not
mm,
being hindered by anything
hmm.
like work or like toxic friends, things like that.
Nice. Um, yeah, so it's almost because I know that during the pandemic you had a huge shift in your business, and it's sounds like it's going pretty well. And you've left, you fully left now, like your other jobs, even though you were doing dating coaching during that time part time.
Mhm.
So yeah, it sounds like things are really in a place where you're feeling good and fulfilled.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Yeah, I'm happy about
got a
it.
happy, I know you're in a like serious relationship, or you're thinking about
Well,
getting
I mean,
married.
like I'm in between relationships, so I just
Oh, are
got out
you?
in July. But
Oh, okay.
I was sad for a little bit, but life goes on, and I felt like we just weren't the right place for each other at the time. But
Okay.
I'm better now.
Oh, okay. Nice, man. So
Yeah.
you're sort of back on the scene then.
Yeah, back on the scene a little bit. More so like I want to connect with my friends more now, because I just felt
Yeah.
like the pandemic with dating, I just kind of pushed them aside. I didn't really have time for them, but now
Mm,
I'm back and I want to
yeah.
reconnect with them more.
Okay, cool. And then focus on your business too, clients
Of
probably.
course, yeah.
Yeah. All right. And yeah, I guess why don't you share like where men can find you, what, like what's like what are you doing? Like how can men work with you
Okay. Yeah, sure. If you guys
if they
want
want
to
to know?
find me, just find me on Facebook. I think that's where I'm gonna be most active. And if you want to work with me, obviously we can get to know each other a little bit more. Shoot me a message, and then we get on a phone call and see like get to know each other better and see if there's something I can help you with, etc. Because
Mm,
sometimes guys want to work with me, but something that they want I can't work on or I can't help, then obviously I'm
right.
not gonna try to do something I can't do, right?
Mm,
I refer to someone that I think might be a better fit.
mm-hmm,
And yeah, just I'm always willing to talk to people, especially now that this is my full-time job. I have more
mm,
time dedicated to people, right?
mm-hmm,
And I feel like if you feel like you're in a bad place, don't feel that way, because things are only going to get better.
mm-hmm.
And we always, and it's not bad to seek help, because a lot of times I have coaches too. I go on coaching, but it's just that we want to get better. That's why we do things outside of our comfort zone. It's not because we're weak, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
because we want to become stronger. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question to that, which is who is like an ideal client, and like who are clients that you would turn away?
Yeah. So ideal clients are someone that would want to learn, right? Open-minded, that's for sure.
I
And
see.
someone that's able to be committed to the process, because it's going to take a while to readjust your mindset, undo some of these limited beliefs that they have,
Mm,
and someone that's willing to do the homework, right? I have a little bit of homework from time to time. But someone that I would turn away is someone that's set in their ways. Maybe they feel like they're super successful, like outside of dating, and they feel like they would choose what they want to follow, what they don't want to follow, and this is tough, right? If you're taking advices from different coaches, if you're taking advices
okay.
from like YouTube,
Yeah.
and taking and doing things, the things that you want, it's going to be tough for you to follow. just like with the workout, if you just choose the workouts that you want to do, choose the diet that you want to follow, then you're not really going to get the results that you want per se.
Okay. So people who are coachable, basically, people who are,
yeah, people who aren't coachable. I'm just like, hey, like I want to do this because I want to help people, but I feel like if I can't help you, then obviously I don't want the headaches.
right. I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting working with Asian men because you get there's a whole spectrum,
Of course, yeah.
and the mindset is so hard with a lot of Asian men, and and I get it. It's hard. A lot of Asian men have really been kind of beat down, like psychologically, and so whether it's the family or society. So yeah, you have some people who have a really like difficult mindset. But cool. I'm going to summarize actually what I heard from your approach, because you have a very different approach than some other dating coaches that I've seen, and it's almost like you balance technique, whether it's like learning how to flirt, teaching cold approaching, or just approaching, talking, building connection, rapport. Like you teach the technical side, but you also teach a lot of mindset. You also teach like how to be yourself, because the goal is to find a relationship. It's to establish yourself in something that feels really good, where you're yourself and you have a genuine connection. So it's like a long-term, you're in this for long-term relationship. So I could see how your approach is going to be different than other dating coaches, who are just teaching technique, or like social game and all this stuff, right? So that's cool, man. Well, yeah. Any questions for me? Anything you want to say? Final words to the group or anything?
So I guess my question for you is, like you said that you worked with some dating coaches in the past. Like, what is your biggest takeaway from them?
To be honest, so I would say I had pretty good success in my life. Like one of the things I like to teach, which I'm still working on how to teach men, but being more open with your sexuality, like not feeling like suppressed around your sexuality. Because when you allow yourself to just be a sexual being, you kind of naturally become more attractive. So, and so when I worked with the dating coach, it was more about, I think the biggest thing I took away was creating masculine and feminine dynamics. Like, how do I be the man in a relationship or in a connection? And how do I flirt? How do I tease? That type of stuff, actually. So it's female psychology. That's what it was. And because, I was like getting, I don't know, 7s, 9s. I've had some 10s and stuff like that. But for the most part, when I was really attracted to somebody, I started to feel a little like self-conscious, or I was really about genuine connection. Like that's how I got a lot of girls, was like, I was just naturally being myself, and like girls found that attractive. And, I think I have a pretty good energy. Like there's something about my energy that is positive. And so women feel that. And so, I think that's how I got more success. But when it was like on me to sort of like really just like approach, like when it wasn't just natural, I think I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a lot of techniques and stuff like that, or understand psychology of women. So that's, I think the biggest takeaway was like, women want to feel like a woman, and there are things that you could do to do that. That's not like weird or sleazy, or it's just female psychology. It's just the way their brains, their hearts, their, vagina, like whatever their sexuality, that it's how it works. Women, they're very different than men. They're wired very differently than men, right? So learning how to interact in a way that allowed that to happen, I think was the biggest thing for me.
That's interesting. Because I realized that women want something more emotional first, have that emotional connection, and then have that physical connection. Whereas like guys want the physical stuff first, and then we can get emotional with it.
100%. Yeah. And I would even say that the sexual and the emotional, it's not even like sequential. It's almost like the emotional and the sexual kind of have to be there together for the women, right? It's like they're feeling your energy and they're feeling it emotionally. They're not like coming from their head. So when you're talking or when you're expressing yourself or when you say like, like, oh, I think you're cute, like, or even like the eye gaze you're talking about, right? Just looking at the eyes, they'll feel it. And then in their body, they'll register it and be like, I'm kind of feeling it, or I'm kind of not, or like, oh yeah, there's something hot here. And so then it's an interesting thing, because I think women are very sexual too, but you just have to like, they have to have the right ingredients in there. But it's not mental. It's like physical and emotional, I think, like you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right, man. Like some of my friends that are girls, they always tell me like, I better get laid tonight, right? But then obviously, they're attractive and they can get laid, but with the right person, right?
Right.
It's like we're like, hey, someone comes at us, we're gonna try to like have sex with them. But for girls, they're pickier, right? So that's the difference. Yeah, it's very
that is interesting. They'll like want it, but then like, it's not like they just want sex with anybody. It's like they want sex with the right person. And if you ask them, they probably wouldn't even know what they're necessarily looking for.
They would say something and then I'm like, hey, why are you with this guy? This isn't type. Like, I don't know, but he's cool.
Yeah, I have this thing, because there's somebody that I used to follow on Instagram. He still pops up on my Facebook sometimes, but he's always asking women what women want, like, what turns you on in bed, or like what's the quality you look for in a man. And a lot of women these days are just like, I want a man who's like, they'll say things and I'm like, oh, that's so PC, because a woman's never gonna really say what turns them on, like, or I don't know if I should say it like that, but I don't really, it's more unconscious, I think, for women. It's like they're not thinking about it. It's just like triggers them in their body and their physiology, so it's very intuitive and energetic. So like, if you ask a woman or try to get advice from a woman about like what you should do and date, like they're just going to be yourself, or like, just be nice, don't be and
be funny.
Be funny. And it's like, there's a whole nother layer, I think, going on here. So that's probably learning how to understanding that. I don't know. Yeah, some of it's just more technical, like, because I already kind of knew a lot of this stuff just from learning like embodying my own sexuality and like being like, just, it's energetic, it's like energy for me, like attraction, like with you and that girl in the bar, the looks, like sometimes you lock eyes with somebody and you're not even trying to lock eyes. And like, how did you know how to do that? And how did that timing it's very instinctual to me. It's very like primal. It's the chemistry, and it's not like logical, but it's like, how do I teach the stuff? I don't know. Like, I just kind of understand it, but I really try to help men just be themselves and heal, be authentic, and it naturally, I think, happens.
That's
Anything else?
That's it, man. I just want to say thank you very much for having me here.
Sure.
It's been such a blast for me to talk to you, and
nice.
had a good time as well.
Okay.
Like, keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing great, man. I appreciate all the stuff you're putting out and empowering men. Like, that's basically the same thing I do.
It is.
I love that we're able to like work together, have that synergy and help us grow as a race.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, good that you're doing the work out there too, and glad we could get on and have a conversation.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Do people where's the best place for people to find you? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook is great. Yeah, I'm on Facebook a lot. Yeah. Facebook.
Okay, cool. I'll just put your thing in the post then.
Yeah, cool. And also if you want, you can send me this video, and also I can post it on my page as well, so that
Okay.
people can find you too.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll be in touch, and let's keep doing the good work for the Asian men.
For sure. All right, man.
All right.
Talk to you later. Have a good
Okay.
night.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.